Hello. So, my name is Krista Van Allen, and I am the founder of Girl Above. Girl Above is a nonprofit organization that equips and empowers girls to live out of authenticity and a place of worth. So we come alongside them in their stories and help guide them to restoration, transformation, and leadership.
And I am Kirk M. Samuels, the intimacy incubator. With strength, wisdom, gentleness, and mercy, I co-create a world of intimacy and unconditional connection by teaching and inspiring 1 million men how to live free from internet pornography. Slavery, and the identity of slavery is just like the identity of freedom. It becomes something that is a part of your mindset. And when you know who you are, what you are naturally flows out of that. The problem is today, our stinking thinking has us thinking with a slavery mentality.
So when women are operating out of this slavery mentality, it looks like being bound to insecurity. Sometimes we are held captive by thoughts of worthlessness and feeling like we just have to be enough. And this comes from an obsession with external approval and outer appearance.
Now, when a male's identity is formed around consuming free and unlimited broadband internet pornography, he begins to see females only through the lens and the filter of broadband internet pornography. And he begins to label all females with some very important things. For example, he labels her as a slut. And in that, he's saying that her only worth, her only value is what she can provide to him sexually.
And a woman might start to believe that she has to sacrifice her values and conform to what he needs in order to win his approval.
Wow, is that true?
Yeah.
Wow. He labels her as an object. And as an object, he says, she is not a person, she is a thing.
She might start to idolize beauty, thinking that he will choose her if she's just skinny enough or pretty enough.
Wow. That hurt. Ouch. Literally. And then, tragically, he begins to label her as property. Nice and gentle. When he labels her as property, he says that she is a commodity. And by a commodity, she is at his will to be bought, sold, or used for his pleasure.
And ironically enough, when a woman's really unhealthy, she might actually start to believe that her legitimate worth is dependent on how he sees her. So we see a disconnect, right? Some of us are like, oh, those thoughts, they are not fun. But no matter how old you are in this room, you know that you've had some thoughts similar to that, especially if you're a girl. These are really common themes somewhere along the way. And we've been talking about human trafficking on a global level and a local level, and we wonder, are we partaking in slavery now? And my answer is yes, because slavery is a systemic problem, and slavery anywhere is slavery everywhere. So the slavery in your mind that comes down to these thoughts, that's what we want to focus on right now. So if we were to walk out of a bound mentality, if we were to think thoughts that are surrounded with freedom, what would those look like?
Cool. A freedom mentality says, where's that one? She's not a slut. She has worth and value that we can't even imagine. As a matter of fact, she is so valuable that she is worth the life of the creator of the universe.
Freedom from approval means that you don't actually need somebody else's permission to be approved of. You are already approved, and God has approved of you way more than the approval of any human around you.
Give me that one back.
We're falling apart.
She is not an object. She is a beautiful soul. She is someone's daughter, maybe someone's sister, maybe someone's mother, and possibly in the future, someone's wife. She is the cradle of humanity. In no way, shape, or form will she ever be an object on this earth.
Beauty. This is a big one. What if there's more to us as women than outer beauty? What if we would consider the fact that God cares more about your heart than he does about your outer appearance, and that a guy telling you that you are beautiful actually isn't the point? You can be free from that, understanding that this is not the point of your pursuit.
Ooh. Get that out of here.
Get it out.
Property. She is property. She's God's property. No human being will ever own her. As a matter of fact, she is bought by the very blood of Jesus Christ himself.
Ladies and gentlemen, you actually don't have to work to earn your worth. It will never come from the mouths of men, and it will never come from the mouths of women. You, like he says, are the property of the one true God, purchased with his blood, and that seals your worth and your identity in him. So with that, can you guys tell the difference in the language? One is infused with shame. One is infused with freedom. So if we look at this dichotomy of slavery versus freedom, that thought, that brings it down to an every single day level. We've talked a lot about slavery over here globally. What does slavery look like in Denver? But what does it look like for the average man or woman to be actually set free from individual slavery? So Kirk's going to talk to the guys a little bit about what this looks like.
I'm so glad you gave me that opportunity. You might want to back up. The Almighty says this must be a fashionable fight. It has drawn the finest of people. Men of Shift Conference. I am Kirk M. Samuels. I'm not anti-porn. I'm anti-slavery. And like she said, slavery anywhere is slavery everywhere. Slavery at the end of a bed at a motel room begins with slavery at the end of a mouse connected to a computer. When I look around this room and I see men young and old, I see a room full of free men. Men that were born free, and by God's grace, men that will die free. But what will you do with that freedom? Will you fight? Or will you run and hide? And in your bed, many years from now, will you look back on every day from this day to that day and say, how did I live my life? Did I stand for something, or did I fall for anything? Did I step into purpose, or was I just existing? My heart begs a question today. The universe begs a question today. God Almighty begs a question today. Is there a man that will step up and fight? Is there a man in this room that will confront tyranny? Is there one? Is there one? Is there a man in this room that will confront oppression? Is there a man in this room that will confront slavery? Yes. I submit to you, men, we need to lead this battle. You look around, women want us to lead this battle. Ladies, am I right? It is time for us to pick up the sword and the spirit that comes with it. It is time for us to become warriors. So it is your choice. And I submit to you that if you choose to do nothing, if you choose to quit, you will do so alone. If you choose to fight, if you choose to join me in this fight, I promise you that I will walk with you every day until the end. And I promise you with my life. And I promise you that we will fight to the end, shoulder to shoulder, back to back. And on that battlefield, on that last day, we will stand together and we will say, they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
Thank you for that. He warned me that he would do a Braveheart moment. I hadn't seen that sword. They asked us if it would be on fire, and I kind of wish it was, because that would be awesome. But as women, I think we just have to ask ourselves a really, really simple question when it comes down to this idea of freedom, is how bound are you to feelings of worthlessness and shame? I have to absolutely commend Brianna Kristen. I need to know you. You're awesome. What they did was they just vocalized their story and their story of freedom and how God has set them free. And the only way that shame can perpetuate itself and continue to live is if we keep it hidden and quiet. And so, girls, raise your hand if you're under the age of like 20. Yeah. Raise your hand if you have an Instagram account. Yeah. Okay. So we, as women, and older women will understand this too, we kind of fall into this generational habit and pattern that has women just falling into this thought that we just aren't good enough and we can't be good enough, and that it's normal to think that you can't be good enough, and that it's normal to just operate out of shame. How many times have you heard your friend casually just be like, oh my gosh, I'm so fat today. Oh my gosh, my hair looks so ugly today. Oh my gosh, do you see my huge zit? Right? We know this, and we're like, girl, you're beautiful, or no, I'm fatter, whatever, okay? Yes. So we think that those things are just small, but like we said earlier, there is no end to how darkness manifests itself. It starts small, and then before you know it, you start to actually believe when a man abuses you and says, this is fine. It's normal. Nothing is happening here that you should blink an eye at. I can use you. I can abuse you. Or even the voice of shame within your head that says you're not pretty enough. You're not good enough. You can never achieve the things that you want to achieve. Right? I don't know what that thought is for you. Girls, you know what it is. Every time you scroll through Instagram, right, it just confirms every idea of doubt that you have, that maybe you'll never measure up. Sometimes I have to unfollow people on Instagram because there's that weird jealousy. But I'm at a point now where I'm able to confront that jealousy and look at it for what it is, and it is slavery thinking. It is operating out of a place of doubt, operating out of a place of fear, and it will always keep me small. Shame just keeps you small. And so the more you can share your story and be set free by these things, I don't even know what women could do in the world if we were just no, absolutely not. If women were to rise, how much would men have to rise, right? Yes. And if that were to happen, this works together, right? So if that were to happen, the guy would be forced to rise, and he might be forced to serve and protect and love in a different way. This is Imago Dei. This is image bearer of God stuff that we're talking about. David Crowder last night in one of his songs, I don't remember the lyric exactly, but it was something along the lines of only enslaved men enslave men. And I was like, yes, That's exactly it. Free people, free people. Free people do not enslave other people. It does not work that way. So if we were to go from this global perspective, I think she said 70% of the people in Thailand were involved in this industry. And we sit here in Cherry Hills Church and Highlands Ranch and feel super disconnected. But when we go through our Instagram account, or when we're binging in the toilet, or when we're hooking up with the guy for God only knows what reason we are filled with shame, we are bound to our thoughts, and then it's perpetuated. And before we know it, women, we're raising the next generation of men. If you raised your hand that you're under 18, the guys in your class, the guy in your history classroom, the guy in the science classroom, the guy that you might have sent nude photos to, there is no shame if you set yourself free from that, but just understand you are helping to train somebody's future father. And you are also training a future buyer. And he might think it's okay because girls have been teaching him that it's okay since he was 15. And you are also contributing free content to the grid of internet pornography for free. It's no wonder we feel worthless, right? When guys are saying, you're a slut, you're this, you're that, or whatever, and then we give ourselves away for free because we don't have the language around ideas of worth. These are things that take practice, and they are worth fighting for. Girls, you don't naturally wake up in the morning saying, I'm awesome. That's a hard thing, and it takes practice to even be able to say humbly, I might have some stuff to walk through, and that's okay because that's healthy thinking. So Kirk and I just want to encourage you guys, not only to come talk to us out in the booth, whatever, but if you are a guy, to find a male mentor who can really help walk you through this stuff. Kirk does some amazing classes where he's probably wielding that sword, who knows how. And women just get in the lives of other women. I did not have a mentor growing up, and God only knows how that could have helped me. So that would be my advice to you. And I just thank all of you guys for being here. And I would pray that your hearts are moved in some way, even if it's small, even if it's to just set your individual thinking free. Thank you.